Get a little closer. It's been a long time since I've been in front of the mic. My name is Julie Winters. I'm the Vice President of Friend of New Deal Café Arts, really want to say. Thank you very much for coming to this artist reception today. We have our two artists here. Of course, Paul Downs, whose work you see in the back. And Bill Moats, who's the artist for the work in the front. And I'm going to, let's see, what do I want to say? This reception is sponsored by FONDCA, and of course we always accept donations because that does help us support these receptions and the outdoor music festivals and things like that. So if you support arts at the cafe and at the center, then we'd be grateful for your contributions. They're tax deductible. And I'm going to, I see that Paul has some things that he would like to say, and I'm also going to ask if anybody would have any questions for the artists, and I guess I'll come back for that. So I'll take it over to Paul.
You just can't believe how happy I am to see all these faces here. This is awesome. I feel like I owe you an explanation. I never felt like that so much as I do now, but hopefully I can shed some light on what's going on here. So this show is called, The Granddaughters of Atlas, and I want to spend a few minutes talking about how this show came to be. I like to write down what I'm saying, and it just helps me because I really think about, what I'm going to present to you. So here goes. Before I go on, I would like to thank my partner Susan Arnett, who cheered on the granddaughters from the first to the very last. She said, "Keep going, keep going." She has played an instrumental role in helping me get ready for the show and for this reception. So thank you, Susan. Also, thank you, FONDCA, who makes all the art presented on these walls of the New Deal Café possible. Thank you for all you do. We know it's so much more than we can imagine. And a big thanks to the staff of the New Deal Café. You keep us all going and make the experience of the cafe a great one for everyone who comes here. And now about this show. It's strange to say this, but I feel like my show is a little tiny bit like when Bob Dylan went from acoustic guitar to electric. A radical change.
Bring it!
One of the first comments I got when this show first went up was, "Wow, you really went somewhere else. You really went a new direction." Often while creating art, I begin by thinking, what shall I make? In this case, to some extent, the granddaughters became the creators, and in some ways recreated me as they played and frolicked in my artistic imagination. My work has traditionally been populated by animals, nature scenes, Native American scenes, heavily inspired by Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau, Chief Seattle, And now, suddenly, there is an invasion of what looks akin to pole dancing pinup girls plastering the New Deal Cafe walls. And believe me, I am as baffled and bewildered as any of you. But I can explain. To a point. These granddaughters didn't just come sashaying into my life. They marched in with defiant joy and exultation. So it felt right, as Susan said, just keep going. And so I marched right along with them. All through the months that the granddaughters and I have been co-creating each other, they seemed to know that they were destined for a summer reveal here at the New Deal Cafe.
Yeah.
I didn't even know I was having a show. I just was making these, and Meg said, "You're on." And it was like July and August, perfect. These ladies exude summer with a carefree energy, and many of them even brought the sun with them. The sun rays spread out over rivers, they dive into the oceans and heavens and cross the landscapes. The sun also became crucial for a more structural perspective. My creative process for these women revolved around an obsession that I had for creating art that would balance easily on the wall from one single point. Just one hook or one nail hole or one hook to hang the art. But with broad art, it's difficult to create those pieces without hanging the art from 2 points. The sun, integral to the energy of the granddaughters, also became the solution, the balancing solution for that challenge. Where you see the sun in all of these pieces is where that point is located. All the weight of the piece is in the sun. Like spokes of a wheel, the rays of the sun support the art from end to end. So within the design and structure of these pieces, there is a uniform spreading out of tension that I found invigorating. Speaking of tension, I also found myself thinking of what it would feel like, what it would look like if mankind had somehow worked it out and there was peace and harmony in the world. What kind of art would you make if there was only harmony? What would I create if the current narrative in our society was not about women losing their power, and instead you allowed creations that celebrate the feminine power and the awesomeness of that power? The granddaughters offered the answer. Their form offered the perfect solution to support the earth, heavens, and more, while their incredible feminine energy and intelligence brought peace and harmony to the world. And so let me tell you a little bit about 3 of these ladies. The first one I would like to point out is the one on the left, the far one on the left.
That's Sue. I recognize her.
She's daydreaming. The lovely granddaughter embodies ease and carefreeness. She easily manages the task of cradling the land and all of us people. She holds us with all of our joys and all of our sorrows. She is so strong and so powerful, she can smile serenely as all of life rests on her back. Where the river meets the sea. Thank you, Susan. Thank you. Lounging on a grassy hillside and enjoying the view, this granddaughter is consumed with joy. In her joy is blessing the view. Science tells us that simple observation of something, anything, will influence that which is observed. her casting a loving, affectionate gaze out to the trestles and mountains has the power to bring peace and harmony. She is the oversoul, holding life together with her harmonizing gaze. And next we have long trestle repose. So well done, Susan. There is no span this granddaughter cannot cross. It's one amazing thing to be a railroad trestle that spans the mighty canyons of the wild. But oh, what a mighty, triumphant, and amazing thing it is to be that which is the span. Okay, just put that here. That which all life rests upon. She symbolizes the vigorous power of Mother Earth. Okay, and then there is another woman I'd like to talk about, and that's Sunny. Sunny is the last of the granddaughters I made. She just came the last. She's the centerpiece. I consider her the queen of the show. Sunny, she truly embodies the sun. She has the sun inside of her as she meditates peacefully and blissfully. She has instilled the sun to shine in all the other granddaughters' lives. She planted the seed of light in all of them. And finally, I'd like to talk a little bit about the lanterns here. The lanterns. In the evenings, when the bands come and play, the lights are turned down, and all these little campfires start to light up on the walls and create a soft glow amongst the granddaughters and other stick art. I urge all of you to pop in here some evening just for a view. A lot of folks that come here in the evening don't know this, but they are unknowingly attending the New Deal summer camp. No, really, I kid you not. You know, Greenbelt has Camp Pine Tree in the day, and we have Camp New Deal in the evenings. Camp Pine Tree has activities like archery, finger painting, and the New Deal summer camp has evening activities such as drinking beer, dancing, mixing it up with friends, new and old, and chowing down on the cafe's awesome food. Please consider joining the New Deal evening summer camp. Thanks everyone for coming today and supporting the arts and checking out the stick art. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask Paul that he didn't address in his presentation? Laura?
Hi, Paul. My name is Laura. Somebody told me that all the lanterns are using wood from the storm. Can you just explain about that?
You know, the big storm that came through, it just gave me just an amazing amount of wood. The first day I went out to collect wood, I just turned around and went home. It's too much. Oh my God. But I, went out and got more wood and just started creating this. There's no way I could have produced this many lanterns without that storm. So you could call these hurricane lanterns if you want. Or the massive storm of 22, summer of 22 storm lanterns. Whatever, floats your boat. Thanks.
Anybody else have any questions? Michael?
Paul, when you're creating your large pieces, and I know you make a template first and then glue it on, but do you work from the top down, the bottom up, the larger pieces, the smaller pieces? What is your process for creating a large piece like that?
I always draw the hands and feet first, and then the face, and I just kind of configure where the rest of the body is going to go. It really helps me to draw the hands and feet first. I have a dry erase board at home, about the size of one of the tables in here, and that helps me a lot to just change the piece. It takes an average of 3 days to draw one of these women because I was really focused on making them look confident and at ease. So that's kind of it.
Anyone else? Going? Oh,
How many types of wood did you use for your
Oh, how many different types of wood?
Right.
I guess like about 5. You know, there's red oak, white oak, tulip poplar, wild black cherry, sassafras, and there's another kind of plant I find in town that I don't know the name of yet, so I'm working on that. Okay. Oh, and red twig dogwood.
Yeah, I hope we'll hear from Bill, because he's a fantastic artist. He may not be the poet that Paul is, but he makes really good art, and I would like to know what's happening in the front room.
funny that you say that, because I was just getting ready to ask Bill if he had anything that he would like to tell us. I have a couple of questions for him, but before I ask him, I thought, would you like to say anything?
Sure. Well, I don't know how you follow. I'm reminded of that movie. Oh, sorry. There's a movie that y'all probably remember. Probably I don't, but in it, there's a scene where this woman is simulating orgasm, and then it's Meg Ryan. You know that movie?
Yeah. We all know that scene.
There's a guy or somebody in the background, and they say, "I'll have what she had." I don't try to analyze my work very much at all. I guess I would say I'm a little bit too old for that. I just kind of figured once I got to 50, if I survived that far, I'd start shutting up and working. But it's kind of an interior private joke, but and you can see from my work that I don't focus on narratives. And that's not to demean this man's work, because it's quite wonderful. I just have a kind of an inner drive that doesn't have a lot of words attached to it. And it's kind of like so many of you do when you come here to dance, and I cannot do that, I just can't. But I can do what I do. And that's this sort of spontaneous expression that, you know, we all like to do. So, my work is simply about forms, simple forms. If it's inspired at all, it's about what I would call archetypal forms. A cup or vessel might be one. Certain colors, rectangles, squares, geometry, and things like that. And those are the only motivations I keep in mind. And if I start in the same place more than once, I'm gonna probably throw that one away, because I have no idea, and I don't worry at all about that. And that's why I don't do these gorgeous, realistic figures, because, you know, I could spend way too long trying to get it right. And obviously Paul's got the hang of it, so to speak. I have done that in the past, but I gave it up. So I'd like to just respond to any of your questions, and I would like to say though that our good mayor had a comment that I thought was pretty interesting. The piece on the left as you come in the center, sort of a landscape looking thing. He saw the center, the Roosevelt Center part of the center in that.
Huh.
If you look at it, it does kind of look like that. But it's purely accidental.
That's good. Happy accident.
I mean, I could say something completely, it's totally accidental. And so that's kind of the way I work. If it's got anything recognizable, it's some very simple thing. So anybody want to ask a question about the way I work, or please feel free.
So I basically have two questions. I was curious about the palette because it seems very consistent throughout the pieces in the front room, and I just love it. I find that the color is very comforting. So I was wondering if you would tell us a little bit about that, and also earlier you were talking to me about the collage process, and I was wondering if you would explain a little more about that in these pieces because they had such wonderful texture.
Yeah. Well, I love texture. I love to build up layers, whether it's collage paper or other materials. I just like the feel of making a textured piece of it, of the work itself. The collage is something I've always enjoyed. Ever since I saw Matisse, a film on Matisse doing collage. I've never seen that. It's amazing. So collage is wonderful because you can start with something and go somewhere else without a lot of preconceptions, simply because the material kind of leads you there. Colors, I like blue and green and gray and neutral color, with accents of yellow, and I don't like brights like red. I'm not 100% sure why, but it's never been one of my favorite colors at all. And lots of people like blue and gray, and it's pretty safe. Green, some greens are safe. Of course, we have green everywhere, but blue, I guess, is most important to me. Blues. I could say something about the watercolor piece in the corner, the one that's framed in the other room. That is a piece that's part of a series, and it's based on this idea of something called asemic, A-S-E-M-I-C. It's a term that refers to spontaneous mark making, writing, making simple marks on paper. You might say writing a story without words, but using the technique of making a mark like you would of some sort of language or type of mark that everybody uses. And some people just think doodling is kind of like that. Everybody likes to doodle, but there's a whole movement called in the art world called asemic writing, and there's lots of people that get very analytical about it and philosophical about it, trying to find meaning. Everybody's looking for meaning these days. And so it's worth looking up if you're interested in languages and languages that don't have words that recognizable words. But it makes for a really nice sort of abstract presentation. And anybody can do it too. It's pretty cool. You can just try it yourself. And so I'm very happy that you all came. I'm very pleased to be here. Anybody else? Mr. Mayor.
Hey, Bill, love your work. I love the color palette. I love the textures. So two things. One, if that painting in there sells, the one that I said looks like Roosevelt Center, I want a 5% commission on that.
Just send me a check, I'll see.
I love your work. So I was just wondering, you talked about spontaneity a lot and automatic writing. So I'm just wondering, when you start a painting, do you have a pretty clear idea of how it's going to come out, or does the painting kind of paint itself?
Well, I do both of those. Sometimes I do something very spontaneous, and I start with a color or a big mark, a field of color, or some kind of abstract mark. And then other times I use drawings, small drawings about this size. And I think of the canvas, if it's square, I do a lot of square ones. So I draw a square, and then whatever happens in the square is the same process. It's just kind of letting the form come up. Using various shades of gray, black, and so you end up with a direction. Like right now, I guess I should qualify all this by saying, occasionally I will be influenced by nature, specifically nature. And so right now I'm doing some pieces based on the image of trees blowing in the wind. Mm-hmm. You ever see a tree that's almost laid down, blowing in the wind? There's something very powerful and abstract about that attracts me. Playing is the only thing that's worthwhile to me. Yeah. Making art is just playing.